At the Heart of No Excuses by Brian Tracy is one simple but powerful idea. Your life begins to change the moment you stop making excuses. That sounds obvious, but it is much deeper than it first appears. Most people do not fail because they lack talent. They fail because they keep handing over control of their lives to circumstances, other people, bad luck, or the past. Brian Tracy argues that the starting point of success is full personal responsibility. This means you stop blaming your background, your boss, the economy, your age, your lack of confidence, or your current limitations. Instead, you take ownership of your results. You say, "This is my life, these are my choices, and from here forward, I am responsible for what happens next." This is not about guilt. It is about power. Blame feels emotionally satisfying in the moment because it protects the ego. It gives you a reason for why things are not working, but it also keeps you stuck. The moment you say, "This happened because of them," you also imply that your future depends on them. That is a weak position to live from. Tracy's message is tougher and more empowering. Even if something was not your fault, it is still your responsibility to respond to it wisely. That is the mindset of mature, effective, disciplined people. They do not waste their best energy complaining. They ask better questions. What can I do now? What is the next step? What is still within my control? This shift changes everything. It changes how you think about work, money, relationships, health, and goals. Instead of waiting for ideal conditions, you begin acting with what you have. Instead of needing motivation from the outside, you begin building strength from the inside. Responsibility becomes the foundation for confidence because every time you act decisively, you prove to yourself that you can be trusted. The title No Excuses is not just a slogan. It is a philosophy. It means refusing to hide behind delay, fear, or self-justification. It means being honest about where you are and committed about where you are going. It means understanding that excuses are expensive. They cost time, opportunity, momentum, income, growth, and self-respect. The first lesson of the book is simple and strong. The quality of your life improves when the quality of your ownership improves. When you take full responsibility, excuses lose their power and progress becomes possible. Brian Tracy makes one point again and again throughout this book. Self-discipline is the key quality that separates success from failure. Not intelligence alone. Not luck. Not connections. Not even ambition by itself. Discipline. Why? Because almost everyone has goals, but far fewer people have the ability to consistently do what is necessary to achieve them. It is easy to want a better life. It is much harder to wake up early, stay focused, finish difficult tasks, say no to distractions, manage money wisely, exercise regularly, and keep going when progress feels slow. This is where discipline becomes the bridge between desire and reality. Goals without discipline become wishes. Plans without discipline become abandoned notes. Inspiration without discipline becomes emotional entertainment. Tracy's view is refreshingly clear. Self-discipline is the ability to make yourself do what you should do, when you should do it, whether you feel like it or not. That definition is powerful because it removes one of the biggest myths in personal growth, the idea that you must feel motivated before you act. In reality, successful people often act before they feel like it. Action comes first. Feeling often comes second. This matters because many people live emotionally reactive lives. They work when they feel energetic. They save when they feel cautious. They focus when they feel inspired. They avoid temptation only when it is easy. But life does not reward inconsistency. Results come from repeated behavior over time. Discipline gives you that consistency. It teaches you how to keep promises to yourself. And that is one of the most important forms of power a person can develop. When you trust yourself to follow through, your confidence rises. Your standards rise. Your identity changes. Tracy also reminds us that discipline is not punishment. It is training. It is the skill of aligning your behavior with your long-term goals instead of your short-term moods. It is not about becoming rigid or joyless. It is about becoming reliable. A person with self-discipline gains freedom that undisciplined people rarely experience. Financial discipline creates financial options. Time discipline creates calm. Health discipline creates energy. Work discipline creates results. Emotional discipline creates stronger relationships. In every area, short-term restraint produces long-term advantages. The key message is that your future is not built by what you intend. It is built by what you repeatedly do. And discipline is what turns intention into achievement. One of Brian Tracy's strongest beliefs is that disciplined people know what they want. They do not move through life in a vague, reactive way. They have goals. Specific goals. Written goals. Prioritized goals. This matters because discipline becomes much easier when you have clarity. If you are not clear about what you want, then every distraction feels harmless and every delay feels acceptable. But when your target is specific, your choices become more meaningful. Tracy encourages readers to define exactly what they want in every major area of life: career, money, family, health, personal development. Once you identify your goals, the next step is to write them down. This may sound simple, but it creates a huge shift. A written goal is more concrete than a vague hope. It moves from imagination into intention. Then comes prioritization. Not everything matters equally. One of the greatest reasons people stay overwhelmed is that they treat all tasks as equally urgent. Tracy argues that disciplined people decide what matters most and work on that first. They do not confuse being busy with being productive. This is an essential lesson for modern life. Today, it is easier than ever to feel active while making very little progress. Messages, meetings, notifications, errands, small tasks, and constant digital interruptions can consume the day. But activity is not achievement. Movement is not progress. Clear goals allow you to measure whether what you are doing is actually taking you somewhere. Tracy also emphasizes the power of long-term thinking. The more clearly you see where you want to go, the more likely you are to make better decisions today. Goals help you say no. They help you delay gratification. They help you tolerate temporary discomfort because you understand what the discomfort is for. A practical way to apply this lesson is to ask, what is the most important goal in my life right now? Once you identify it, ask another question. What one habit or action would move me fastest in that direction? That is where discipline should be focused. People often fail not because they lack effort, but because their effort is scattered. Tracy's message is to concentrate your energy. Know your target. Write it down. Break it into actions. Then work on it consistently. When the mind is clear, discipline becomes simpler. You do not waste as much time negotiating with yourself. You know what matters, and that clarity starts guiding your behavior. Excuses are one of the central enemies in this book, and Brian Tracy treats them seriously for good reason. Excuses may sound harmless, but they quietly become a lifestyle. They create a mental habit of avoiding responsibility while preserving comfort. An excuse usually sounds reasonable. I do not have enough time. I am not ready yet. I work better under pressure. I will start when things calm down. I did not grow up with advantages. I am too tired. I need the perfect plan first. These statements feel harmless because they contain some truth. But Tracy's point is that even when excuses sound logical, they still keep you from acting. Excuses are dangerous because they reduce discomfort in the short term. They help you avoid embarrassment, uncertainty, effort, and accountability. But that comfort comes at a massive price. Every excuse delays growth. Every excuse strengthens passivity. Every excuse teaches the mind that avoidance is acceptable. Over time, excuses shape identity. A person who constantly explains inaction begins to see themselves as someone who is always almost ready, always about to begin, always capable but rarely committed. That is a painful place to live because the gap between potential and reality keeps growing. Tracy pushes readers to become very alert to the language they use. When you catch yourself explaining why you cannot do something, pause and ask whether you are facing a real barrier or protecting yourself from discomfort. That distinction is critical. Some obstacles are real, but many are exaggerated by fear, habit, and low standards. The uncomfortable truth is that excuses are often a form of self-deception. They allow you to feel temporarily justified while remaining unchanged. That is why this book insists on honesty. Not harshness for its own sake, but honesty that leads to growth. A powerful practical exercise is to identify your most repeated excuse in one major area of life. Maybe it is time, money, confidence, age, or uncertainty. Then challenge it directly. Is it fully true? Is it always true? Are other people succeeding with the same limitation? What action could you still take today despite that excuse? This lesson is not meant to make people feel guilty. It is meant to wake them up. The more excuses you remove, the more energy becomes available for action. And once action begins, confidence starts replacing hesitation. Excuses may protect comfort, but they also lock you into a smaller life. Tracy's message is clear. If you want your potential, you must be willing to let your excuses go. Brian Tracy places a huge emphasis on career success, productivity, and professional growth. He believes self-discipline is one of the most valuable career advantages a person can develop because the workplace constantly rewards those who can focus, prioritize, and deliver results. Many people want promotion, higher income, respect, or more opportunity. But Tracy points out that these rewards usually go to people who are dependable. People who start on time, prepare thoroughly, finish important tasks, solve problems, and keep improving themselves. In other words, disciplined people become valuable people. One of the biggest work lessons in the book is the importance of concentrating on your highest value tasks. Tracy is well known for teaching that a small number of activities usually account for a large percentage of your results. If you spend your day reacting to low-level tasks, you may feel busy without becoming important. This is why discipline in work often means doing the difficult, meaningful task first. The task that creates revenue, progress, or real contribution. The task that requires thought, courage, or sustained effort. Most people delay this kind of work because it is mentally demanding. But disciplined people learn to face it early and regularly. Tracy also talks about continuous learning. In a changing world, discipline is not only about working hard. It is also about staying sharp. Reading, studying, upgrading your skills, and learning from better performers all increase your value over time. The disciplined person does not assume that what got them here will get them there. They keep growing. Another major point is reliability. In professional life, trust is currency. When people know you do what you say you will do, they begin giving you more responsibility and more opportunity. Reliability may not look dramatic, but it creates a reputation that compounds over the years. A practical takeaway here is to ask, what one discipline would most improve my career right now? Better time management? Deeper focus? Faster follow-through? Stronger communication? Daily learning? Once identified, build it deliberately. Tracy's message is that career success is rarely random. It is usually the result of standards practiced consistently. The more disciplined you become in how you use your time and attention, the more results you create. And the more results you create, the more doors begin to open. Work becomes a powerful training ground for self-respect. Every completed task, every kept promise, every focused hour teaches you that you are capable of more than excuses ever allowed. Time management in this book is really self-management. Brian Tracy makes it clear that you cannot manage time itself. Time passes the same for everyone. What you can manage is your attention, your choices, and your priorities. This is important because one of the most common excuses people use is lack of time. But Tracy challenges that idea. Most people do have enough time to make meaningful progress. What they often lack is direction and discipline. They allow low-value activity to consume the hours that could have been invested in what matters. The disciplined approach to time starts with planning. Tracy recommends thinking on paper, making lists, and deciding in advance what needs to be done. Planning reduces confusion and increases intentionality. When you begin the day already knowing your top priorities, you are less likely to drift into reaction mode. Another major principle is concentration. In an age of interruptions, focus has become a superpower. The ability to work on one important thing for an extended period is increasingly rare and increasingly valuable. Tracy encourages readers to build the habit of sustained attention because deep work creates better results than scattered effort. He also emphasizes the importance of sequencing. Do first things first. Do not let easy tasks trick you into feeling productive while you avoid the important ones. The job that matters most should receive your best energy. This lesson becomes even more powerful when paired with the idea of opportunity cost. Every hour spent on something low value is an hour not spent on something that could truly improve your life. Once you understand that, time becomes more sacred. You stop wasting it so casually. A practical step here is to identify the top 3 activities that contribute most to your work or personal goals. Then compare those to how you actually spend your day. The gap between those two things often explains why progress feels slower than it should. Discipline with time is not about filling every minute. It is about using your hours with purpose. It means deciding ahead of time what deserves your energy and then protecting that decision from distraction, laziness, and mood. When people gain control over their priorities, life begins to feel less chaotic. They become more focused, more effective, and less emotionally scattered. Tracy's point is simple. If you do not decide what matters, something else will. And usually, that something is far less valuable than your real goals. Another major theme in No Excuses is money, and Brian Tracy is very clear that financial success is deeply connected to discipline. He is not only talking about earning more. He is also talking about how you think about money, how you manage it, and whether your habits support long-term security. Many people work hard but stay financially stressed because they lack disciplined habits. They spend impulsively, avoid planning, delay saving, or make emotional financial decisions. Tracy argues that financial freedom begins when you become deliberate with money instead of reactive. One of the simplest but strongest ideas is to live below your means. This is not flashy advice, but it is powerful. A person who earns less than they spend will almost always feel pressure, regardless of income level. A person who develops the discipline to save, invest, and delay unnecessary consumption begins building peace. Tracy also emphasizes the importance of paying yourself first. Instead of saving whatever happens to be left over, disciplined people save intentionally before spending on less important things. This creates momentum and teaches the mind that the future matters. Financial discipline is also emotional discipline. It means learning to separate wants from needs. It means not using spending as a form of entertainment, stress relief, or identity. It means understanding that every financial decision either increases your freedom or reduces it. This matters because money is not only about numbers. It is about options. Savings create breathing room. Wise investing creates future possibility. Debt reduction creates peace. Financial order creates confidence. A helpful practical question from this chapter's spirit is, what financial habit is weakening my future? Maybe it is overspending, not tracking expenses, avoiding difficult numbers, or failing to invest in your own growth. Once you identify the pattern, you can begin changing it one behavior at a time. Tracy's message is not about becoming obsessed with money. It is about becoming responsible with it. Financial discipline is one of the clearest examples of how short-term restraint can produce long-term freedom. The deeper principle here is that every dollar is a vote. It is a vote for comfort now or strength later. Disciplined people learn to cast more of those votes in favor of freedom. One of the strengths of No Excuses is that Brian Tracy does not limit discipline to work and money. He also applies it to character and relationships. This is important because many people think of discipline as something purely external, like routines, schedules, and productivity systems. But some of the most meaningful forms of discipline show up in how you treat people and manage yourself emotionally. Relationship discipline includes patience, honesty, listening, kindness, and restraint. It means not saying the first angry thing that enters your mind. It means following through on commitments. It means showing respect even when emotions rise. It means doing the work required to be trustworthy. This kind of discipline is often overlooked because it is less visible than career achievement. But it has enormous impact. A person can be professionally successful and personally unstable if they lack emotional control and moral consistency. Tracy's broader point is that character is built through repeated choices. Integrity is not a label. It is behavior. Reliability is not something you claim. It is something others experience from you over time. The disciplined person develops a reputation for steadiness, self-control, and sincerity. This also includes the discipline to choose your environment wisely. The people you spend time with influence your standards, your energy, your mindset, and your expectations. If you stay surrounded by negativity, irresponsibility, gossip, or passivity, your own discipline becomes harder to maintain. Tracy encourages being intentional about relationships because association shapes direction. Another lesson here is that maturity means controlling your reactions. Not every thought deserves expression. Not every irritation deserves a response. The disciplined person learns to pause, think, and act from values rather than impulse. A strong practical takeaway is to ask yourself, where do I most need more discipline in relationships? Is it in keeping promises? Managing anger? Listening better? Being more present? Speaking with more care? The answers to those questions reveal where growth can become deeply meaningful. Ultimately, Tracy reminds us that success without character is unstable. Discipline should not only make you more productive. It should make you more dependable, more respectful, and more solid as a human being. That kind of discipline does more than improve results. It improves the quality of your presence in other people's lives. A powerful hidden message throughout No Excuses is that confidence is not something you wait for. It is something you build through disciplined action. Many people believe they must first feel certain, fearless, or fully ready before they can commit seriously to a goal. Brian Tracy pushes against that idea. Confidence is often the result of doing hard things consistently. Every time you complete a difficult task, keep a promise, resist an excuse, or follow through on a commitment, you send a message to yourself. The message is, I can trust myself. This matters because low confidence often grows from self-betrayal. When people repeatedly avoid action, delay important work, break commitments, or abandon goals, they start doubting their own word. That doubt spreads into every area of life. But the opposite is also true. Small acts of discipline rebuild self-trust. This is why Tracy places so much value on daily practice. He wants readers to understand that discipline compounds. A single strong choice may seem small, but when repeated over weeks and months, it reshapes identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who merely wants success and start seeing yourself as someone who behaves like a serious person. Another key point is that courage and discipline often grow together. The more willing you are to act despite fear, the less power fear has over time. Waiting for fear to disappear usually leads nowhere. But moving forward with purpose weakens hesitation. A practical approach here is to choose one area where your confidence is currently low and ask what disciplined action would improve it. If you lack career confidence, maybe it is daily skill building. If you lack financial confidence, maybe it is tracking your money every day. If you lack health confidence, maybe it is consistent exercise. Confidence follows proof. This idea is deeply hopeful because it means you do not need a dramatic transformation overnight. You do not need to become a different person instantly. You just need to begin acting in ways that support the person you want to become. Tracy's message is clear. Action creates belief. Not endless thinking. Not more wishing. Not more waiting. The disciplined life builds evidence, and evidence builds confidence. When you stop making excuses and start following through, you slowly become someone who trusts your own effort. And that trust becomes a major source of strength. The final lesson of No Excuses is not just that discipline matters. It is that life improves when you stop postponing the kind of person you know you need to become. Brian Tracy's message is urgent in the best way. He wants readers to stop waiting for perfect timing, perfect confidence, or perfect conditions. There will always be reasons to delay. There will always be uncertainty, discomfort, and difficulty. But if you keep waiting to feel fully ready, you may keep waiting through your whole life. Discipline begins when you decide that action matters more than excuses. This does not mean rushing blindly. It means acting responsibly, steadily, and with commitment. It means choosing progress over self-protection. It means becoming the kind of person who does what needs to be done even when it is inconvenient. By this point in the book, Tracy has shown that discipline affects every major part of life. It shapes goals, work, money, time, character, relationships, and confidence. It is not one skill among many. It is the foundation that makes all other success possible. The good news is that discipline is learnable. You do not need to be born with it. You build it through repetition. You strengthen it through standards. You protect it by removing excuses. And you grow it every time you choose the important over the easy. So the practical takeaway from this book is simple but challenging. Pick one area of life where excuses have been costing you progress. Be honest. Name the pattern. Set a clear goal. Decide the first action. Then do it, whether you feel like it or not. That first act matters more than it appears. It is not just a task. It is a declaration. A declaration that you are no longer available for delay, avoidance, and self-justification. A declaration that your future deserves effort. No Excuses is ultimately a call to personal leadership. It asks you to lead yourself before trying to lead circumstances. It asks you to stop surrendering your power to emotion, habit, and external blame. And it reminds you that the disciplined life, while demanding, is far more rewarding than the life of repeated regret. The message that remains is strong and simple. Success belongs to people who take responsibility, act with consistency, and refuse to let excuses decide their future.